Great.
Got it. Okay, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And so I am going to, I'll make you co-host real quick. And so that you're ready to share. And then let me change the setting here. All right. Now we go to participants and, oh, cool. Thomas Zells is joining us. Do you know Thomas?
No, I don't.
He is, he owns a pianoforte piano store here in Chicago. He's a cool guy. All right, admit all. Hello. Hello, friends and family here. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Great to have you all here again. Lou Delbany, see you there. Good to have you joining us. We'll have to chat some more sometime soon. And yeah, got some fun, familiar and somewhat fresh faces here today. Some folks that, oh, I know here. I know why Thomas joined. Good to see you, Thomas Zells. I was like, why did he join? Oh yeah, because we're talking about Faziolis today. he had to chime in. So Larry, that's the other thing about Thomas. I was just telling Larry before that I saw you there in the waiting room. He's not just a piano dealer here in Chicago. He's the guy who brought Fazioli to Chicago.
I see.
Yeah. So he was kind of like a business guy. What was it, like investments or something?
I was in banking for 20 years.
Banking for 20 years,
But I fell in love with Fazioli and then with the piano business as a consequence.
Yeah. So interesting journey. Cool. Well, good to have you here, Thomas. All right. So I'm going to spotlight our major players here. Let's see here, and then Larry, and then let's give a little intro, and then we'll get rolling. It's going to be a fun program today. So welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Here we gather every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft and help each other create an ever more musical world together. So Piano Tech Radio Hour is actually brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. That's an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. And you can find out more about that at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. Now, today's guest is Larry Lobel. Larry, give a little bit of bio on him. He's joined us a few times, so many of you are familiar, but just for some context, he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Music from Hunter College, NYC, 1971. And he went ahead to study piano tech with Robert Fairchild and Steve Fairchild Sr. And then in 1972, joined the PTG, but kind of moved on after about a year until he found it later on in life. He went to work for Yamaha dealers, rebuilding shops, Aeolian Corporation, International Piano Archive, trained with David Stanwood as a licensed precision touch design installer. Finally, in the year 2000, he did rejoin PTG after a lapse of a quarter century, passed his RPT exams on his first try, and he served as San Francisco chapter secretary and president along the way. Larry attended Yamaha Little Red Schoolhouse, Steinway Academies in Oberlin, Ohio, and the New York factory. He also toured Chinese piano factories while chair of the PTG International Relations Committee. He has been an independent piano tech most of his career until age 60, and he was offered the piano tech spot at the newly opened Green Music Center at Sonoma State University for Santa Rosa Symphony. And Larry is also a piano tech for Skywalker Sound. Good old music and showbiz there. That's awesome. Cool. Well, Larry, I'll kind of kick it over to you. We talked a little bit about Steinway comparisons, couple of sessions here, which was fascinating. I don't know. I put it on our email queue, but I forget whether I sent it out yet. We do have a an article that Sally Phillips wrote for pianobuyer.com that compares New York and Steinway, New York and Hamburg Steinways. People might be interested in it as well. So you can look it up, or we'll share the link in an email soon if we haven't already. And so off the bat, I know Larry would like to just close a little bit of that conversation on Steinways and then kick it over to the topic of Fazioli's. But before that, we noticed that we didn't ask him some of our sort of special questions, which was like, you got a tool, like a favorite tool, Larry, that you'd like to share with the crew here?
I thought you'd never ask, Ethan.
There you go.
I do want to share it. My favorite go-to tool that I use every time I tune a piano, it's actually two tools. One is, I call it pick on a stick. It's just a guitar pick attached to a hammer shank with some epoxy. I cut a slit down the middle of the shank and then glued in the guitar pick. And I use this for plucking strings while I'm tuning. Most technicians use their fingernails, and that's fine. But I think I get a better sound with this, and I can control the sound, and it's easier to access the strings. And it also helps me avoid touching the strings because I have a particular condition where the oils from my hands make strings rust overnight, literally. So this has many uses and purposes for me. Great thing to have.
And Larry will ship one out to you for, what do you want to say, $29.99 maybe?
Right. And then,
sorry, I interrupted.
That's okay. The accompanying tool for that is this split mute, two rubber mutes glued together with CA glue at the top. And then I use a stubby cutoff wire ring that comes from one of the mutes. And the split mute allows you to mute off the two outside strings to isolate the center string, or you can mute the right side or the left side. Again, this is very useful for a lot of purposes, and it makes muting, changing the mute much faster, saves a lot of time to have something like that. And again, a great tool you can make for yourself at virtually no cost.
And that's, if you want to ship to you, that will be $79.99.
Buy both of them and it's $10 off.
There you go. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. And yeah, what else did you said you had maybe some final thoughts on the Steinway comparisons?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Are you seeing that?
Not yet. Make sure you should choose the share option and I guess maybe hit enter or something.
Oh, I see. There we
Got
go.
a smattering of new people joining us. I accidentally left them waiting in the waiting room.
Are you getting it yet, Ethan?
No, but let me, I don't know, let me remove the spotlight on you and see if that changes things. This looks promising. This looks promising.
Found the button now. Have we got it yet?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great.
Now we're good.
All right. So just hearkening back to my Steinway comparison from a couple of weeks ago, I got a message after the session from Alan Eder, who pointed out an error that I made, and I wanted to correct that. Plus, I also mentioned then that I didn't have a good photograph of the Steinway accelerated action. So I got one of those. So this is what the accelerated action looks like on New York Steinways since about 1936. And what I had said before was that these felt strips support the keys. Well, that's incorrect. As Alan pointed out, the felt strips, the purpose of them is to prevent these half-round bearings from rotating. It keeps them in position. And the keys rest on top of the half-round bearings. You can see the profile of it best on this one here. So the key is touching the bearing only at the very top, and it rocks on the bearing. And the idea is that there's less friction, less resistance, and that the key would return faster that way. That's disputed by many reputable technicians, but that's the theory behind it. So I just wanted to put that out and let everybody see that. So now we can dive into the Fazioli presentation. And this is a slightly longer than 9-foot concert grand made by Fazioli. The Green Music Center where I work obtained one. They bought a used one that was about 6 years old, and it had belonged to Herbie Hancock, the famous jazz pianist. Herbie, apparently, he's a great Fazioli fan, as I'm sure Thomas knows, and he buys himself a new one every few years. So the Green Music Center bought this, and it was the second concert grand they had. First was a Steinway, of course, and then they got this one. And this is a top view, and superficially, it looks very much like any conventional concert grand, like Steinway and all the other big name pianos in the world. But there are some subtle but important differences which we're going to explore today. That's the underside of the piano. And again, it looks pretty similar superficially to other concert grands. This is Mr. Paolo Fazioli, the visionary founder of the company. Interesting character, and he came from a family of furniture makers, and but he went to university and conservatory and was trained to be a concert pianist, he was majored in performance, and he was heading along that path. But in the meantime, I think he also grew up working in his family's furniture factory, so he was familiar with woodworking and construction and those kind of processes. And as he went along his career path, he found himself dissatisfied with the pianos that were available, and he determined that he thought he could do something better. And he assembled teams of designers. He drew upon German engineering, and he was allotted a small corner in the family factory to develop the product. And the first Fazioli came out in 1981. And that's only 40 years ago. And within the first 10 years, he started making waves in the piano industry. People started noticing that here was something new, something really interesting. And within the 40 years since he started it, the name has become very well known worldwide, is used on many concert stages throughout the world, but more in Europe and Asia than here. And it's been a great success, and we'll see the reasons for that. There's Herbie Hancock's signature. He signed the piano that the Green Music Center bought, and he has performed on it several times at the Green Music Center since then. The interior, notice the beautiful wood insert on the inner rim. I think it's a burled maple, and there are many, they use many exotic woods. You can have a custom-made Fazioli made of just about any wood that you want, and there are many requests for them. And here's a happy piano tuner. Now, you've heard me complain about my pet peeve, which is that pretty much every piano manufacturer makes the tuning pins too tight for us to do a really fine, excellent tuning. Now the pins on the Fazioli are tight. They're not ridiculously tight, but they're tight, tighter than I think they need to be. But they're a joy to tune because the torque on every pin is consistent. As you move your hammer through the pins, every one of them feels the same. And even though they're tight, they move easily. And you can do a super fine tuning on these pianos. So it makes piano tuners happy. It also makes pianists happy. And this is a friend of mine, Ken Isaka, who's a local San Francisco Bay Area pianist. And he has performed in the Van Cliburn competition and other competitions. He's very fine, serious amateur pianist, and he owns a 10-foot Fazioli. He bought one for himself. Here's a little sample of his playing.
You know, we can share your audio. I don't know if you did that. Let's unshare and reshare. And then there's a little box at the bottom of the sharing screen that says share computer audio. And that'll give us a better taste of that.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find that. I'm sorry, Ethan, can you?
So I stopped your sharing. You got to kind of restart it.
Oh, okay.
And then when you get that pop-up box, there's a couple checks in the bottom, check boxes. One says share computer audio.
I see it.
And optimize for video. You can do that one too.
Okay.
And then hit share, and then you can play it for us.
Okay. I got a pop-up box that says I have to install the Zoom audio device.
I guess click yes. We'll see if that takes time. If it doesn't, we can just move forward.
They want my computer administrator name and password, which I'm not sure I know.
Okay.
Let me try one that I think may work.
ABC 1, 2, 3.
No, it's not that simple. No, sorry, I'm not remembering it.
That's cool.
I don't want.
Yeah, you can move to the next slide. I think we heard.
Yeah.
I mean, you could try playing it again. We can't quite make it out as well as you'd like.
Okay, that's okay. We can just skip that. I just wanted to make the point that piano tuners love this piano, pianists love it, and owners of them love it. And this was another little audio clip I was going to play. Another local serious pianist, Gwendolyn Mock, who performs quite a bit in the Bay Area, and she's made a lot of recordings. And she had never played a Fazioli before. And I brought her into the Green Center and gave her the chance to try our instrument. She sat down and played it, and she was entranced and just amazed. And she's a great pianist. It'd be nice to hear this clip, but maybe we'll do
you
that.
You can hit play. We'll get a version of it.
Okay. So I don't know how that came across through your audio, but
I mean, I'm actually surprised at how much I got the feeling of the grand, boomy concert feeling. It was kind of dreamy in a way because of the distortion that we have on our end. But yeah, it was interesting to watch, at least for me.
well, good. She really displays the huge dynamic range of that piano and the richness of sound. It just kind of rolls over you, and it's quite amazing to hear. And when I talk to her and other pianists who play and enjoy the Fazioli, they all say the same thing, that the precision of the action is so fine that they feel that they have much more control and ability to do things than on any other piano. So let's dive into the action and maybe figure out what it is that makes them so beloved by pianists and technicians and audiences. This action looks very standard, conventional, and in fact, it is. Their piano parts are made by Renner. They don't make their own parts in the factory the way Steinway in New York does. They use standard Renner action parts. And the keyboard is made by Kluge, which is the same company that makes Steinway's keyboards. And in fact, Kluge is owned by Steinway now, as is Renner too. So here's something we talked about in the Steinway comparison, is the alignment of the jacks in the window of the repetition lever. And again, we have a kind of a parallax view here. So we're not looking straight down on all of them, just this one. But notice the perfectly centered jack in the window there. And you have to take my word for it that the others are like that too. But I can also show you, we can see that a little better by looking at the knuckles, where the jacks and the repetition levers have left an impression from the graphite. And this shows us how perfectly centered the jacks are in the window and how perfectly centered they are on the knuckles. And it's this kind of precision, I think, that it makes the action feel so responsive to pianists. Not just this particular adjustment, but the conglomeration of every adjustment being as minutely and securely adjusted like that. And same with the hammers. Of course, Fazioli buys their hammers from Renner, as all the other major makers do, but they do the shaping, drilling, boring, hanging of the hammers. And if you look at the precision